Hi everyone, I'm Rincy and this is Rincy Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite. This is the follow-up novel to the book My Sister, the Serial Killer, which I know a lot of people, including myself, really enjoyed. And so when I saw that her second novel was coming out, I was very excited to pick it up. So in this story, you are following a couple different women who all belong to the same family that has been put under a curse. So a couple generations earlier, a woman curses the second wife, the first wife curses basically the second wife of this man, basically saying that none of the women in this family will end up knowing love, so they will not be able to remain in happy relationships with the men that they love. And so for a few generations following that, that curse has basically come true. None of the women in the family have been able to get married or stay married or have like happy loving relationships. And so this story is mainly told from the perspective of three different women. One of them is Mona Fay, who at the very beginning of the story you find out has like died in the river. There is her cousin Ibun, and then Ibun, on the day of her cousin Mona Fay's funeral, I believe, she ends up giving birth to Enie. And so because she is born on the day of the funeral and Enie like bears a very strong resemblance to Mona Fay, that Enie ends up getting a lot of like comparisons between her now dead cousin Mona Fay. You know, people even saying that she's like potentially like a reincarnated version of her and things like that. And Ibun, her mother, hates this because of like the way that Mona Fay's life ended. She doesn't want her daughter to end up with the same fate. And Enie hates it because she feels like she is unable to live her own life. And so this book like jumps back and forth between those three perspectives and jumps back and forth in time, telling the story of these three women and of the lives they've chosen to have and how the curse affects them. So like I said, this is the author's second novel after reading My Sister the Serial Killer. And I will say off the bat, like, if you read My Sister the Serial Killer and you're wanting this book to be very similar to that one, I think you'll be disappointed because this book is very different. Like this one very much falls in like the literary fiction, contemporary fiction, family dynamics sort of camp, which Braithwaite touches on in My Sister the Serial Killer, talking about like that sisterly relationship. But this one is definitely more on that side of things versus like the kind of more thrillery aspects of My Sister the Serial Killer. So I think that that's like something worth bringing up early on, just in case you were like checking out this review and you're like, I want to check out this book because I love My Sister's Serial Killer. It's not going to be like a one for one, everyone who loves that book is going to love this book and vice versa. But I did really enjoy this book, and I think that if you are someone who does enjoy the family dynamics aspect of My Sister's Serial Killer, I think that this one would be worth checking out. I was able to see Braithwaite talk in conversation with Gillian Flynn actually, which was crazy, here in Chicago. And she said like during her talk that like one of the things that she's really interested in is the relationships between women. And that is definitely something that's explored in this book. You see how each of these three characters is impacted by the curse that is held over their family, how like the mothers and the generations treat these people, their children, their daughters specifically, a certain way because of the curse, and trying to break the curse and the things that they do in order to break the curse and how they like relate to each other. This is like a book that's also just exploring love, both romantic love as well as familial love, and like the complicated relationships you can have with the people in your family. It also like looks a lot at like family life in specifically Nigeria and sort of the expectations of different people and their roles and things along those lines, that I think was like really well done, really interesting. But overall, I think that like this book creates like three really strong characters. If you watched my reviews before, you know that a lot of times I've ranted about multiple POV books and how usually there's one point of view that I really don't enjoy or that I feel like drags down the novel. I feel like the way that this book is told, it doesn't feel like quite as jarring having all of the different perspectives because it's like intergenerational and you're dealing with like this inter-family conflict. All of the perspectives involve the other characters in some sort of way, so it never really feels like you're being pulled in too many different directions, or it feels like disparate stories or anything along those lines. Like, this is like a well-woven braid where there's 3 different strings, but all of the strings like wrap around each other so well and inform the other parts of the story and stuff like that. So like, this to me is like the perfect example of a multiple POV book that works well. The nonlinear storyline also leads to a really interesting way that like plot points and choices are revealed over the course of this book, which I thought was like really well done. There were like aspects and details in this book that I didn't see like coming, or the way that the story was woven when it's eventually like things come together. I personally thought it was really well done. I will say though that like, saying that all of these perspectives work really well together, I do think that there's one character in here that is like the most quote unquote unlikable out of the bunch. But like, it was interesting because I saw, like I said, the author speak on this, and she actually mentioned like how there is one character in here that she thinks that people are going to really, really hate, but she really hopes that they don't, because there are reasons behind the choices that she makes, even if they are infuriating choices. So I could see a lot of people like really getting infuriated with that point of view, potentially, or with that character in general over the course of this book. But like, personally, I think partially I was colored by the fact that I heard Braithwaite say that during her talk, and so I like kind of went in expecting that to happen. But I think like in the end, like her choices made sense, even though I wouldn't, again, necessarily agree with the choices that were made. So I could see that being like a prickly point for some people. But for me personally, it didn't significantly downgrade the experience for me. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed my experience with this book. I think I would rate this around like a 4-star experience for me personally. But again, I think that this is a book for people who enjoy more character-driven stuff, literary fiction, people who really enjoy sort of like inter-family stories and dramas and things like that. This book is for you. I don't necessarily think that everyone who read My Sister's Serial Killer will love this book, but I do think that there is a really good audience for this book, and I think that, again, if you fall into that camp, then this one would be worth checking out. So those are my thoughts on Cursed Daughter. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read this book and what your thoughts were on it, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave that down in the comment section as well. Yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.